All right, let's give it up for Zach and Kalila and John. Wow. And I can't forget Broderick, too. Amazing moves, Broderick. Great dance moves. Good morning, everyone. All right, I am so fired up to see all of you. That was so inspiring. Reminds us, grounds us why we're all here. For anyone who just showed up today and wasn't here yesterday, I'll tell you, my name is Dworkin. I'm the CEO of NSLA. Please welcome. We are having a great conference. It's day 2. And at NSLA, whenever we have a staff meeting, sometimes on Zoom, sometimes in person, we always start with gratitude and expressions of gratitude to say thank you. So let me start with 2 special people who have made this conference possible. The first person I want to thank is my wife, Lauren, who is here, who makes everything I do possible, fun, and worthwhile. Love you, babe. The second person I want to thank is the former U.S. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy, because in his efforts to keep our government, federal government, from shutting down, he has permitted the Secretary of Education to come this week and the U.S. Surgeon General, and for all of us to have a party tonight at the Smithsonian. So thank you, Kevin. And I don't care what anyone else says. In my book, you are all essential workers. But very seriously, I want to, of course, thank our board, our staff, we talked about our consultants, our sponsors, our exhibitors, our summer learning champions, so many presenters that are here, so many attendees are here. And I thank you for making this whole conference possible, and I really thank you for showing up. And as the kids might say, IRL, in real life, in 3D. And it matters. I know a lot of people flew all the way across the country. It's a big effort. As Woody Allen, the comedian director, once said, he says 90% of success in life is simply showing up. But we think it's a little bit more than that. We think showing up is a demonstration of how much you all care. How much you all care about kids in your communities, in your schools, in your programs, how much you care about your organizations, and how much you care, as John's referred to, about the future of this country. And we all know the cardinal rule of education, which is no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And so by you all being here, people know. Now, as I said earlier, I am really honored as a privilege to be the CEO of NSLA, but I always tell people I like to move those letters around because what's really important is actually the EOC. And that's what summer learning all boils down to. And that stands for promoting educational equity, creating opportunity, and what you all do so well, building community. And so in my role as CEO, and because we give out national awards, the big perk of my job is I get to travel all during the summer and visit 1 million programs. And I get to see equity and opportunity and community on display. This past summer, I got to visit a program that I heard about but I had never seen, and they're here in this room today, called Math Corps out of Detroit. They're now expanded. They're here, so you can hear my details, and if you want to clarify or check, you could check with them. But here's what I saw. And the way I learned about them is interesting. The last couple years, as Broderick mentioned, we've had a congressional summer internship program. And Math Corps had 2 alumni participate the last 2 summers. Last year we had Zion, who went to Dartmouth, was a physics major, and he worked for Senator Gary Peters from Michigan. And this past summer we had Nabila, a philosophy major at Harvard, and she worked for Senator Ed Markey. And I got to spend a lot of time with both of them. And I said, how did you get to where you are? And they both said, well, this program, Math Corps, it's magical. It's had a huge impact on our lives. So I had to go see it. So I got on a plane. I went to Detroit. It's at Wayne State University, actually my father's alma mater. It was amazing to go. And when you get to Math Corps, you see, I'm not making this up, kids are dancing up and down the aisles. Staff are dancing in the aisle. There's a DJ. They got a minister, a Huber. There are kids chanting and cheering about fractions and decimals. People are going crazy. And then when you get into the classroom, every time a kid gets asked a question or has to go up to the board to solve a problem, the whole rest of the class starts with their hands silently but quickly doing this motion to demonstrate, you got this. We got you. Keep going. Don't worry. Don't give up. It's impressive. It's inspiring. They have not all the fanciest amenities you might see at a summer program. They don't have a lot of resources that a lot of other places have, but they have amazing attendance. They have no problem with their staffing because their model is college math majors get paid to teach and train high school students who get paid to teach and train middle school students who don't have to pay $1. And every person in that program can't wait to move up to the next level. And when you go to ask Professor Khan, who goes by PK, and he's here, I'll just embarrass him. He doesn't like to fly, so he drove all the way from Detroit. So thank you for coming. But he's here, and you ask him, you're like, how do you get all these people so fired up about math? And he'll say, with no pause, he goes, this program is not about math, it's about love. And everyone knows it, and everyone shows up. So we are very honored that this week, like I said, this afternoon for lunch, the U.S. Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, is coming for the 3rd year in a row. Let's give him a round of applause, even though he's not even here. And tomorrow, the U.S. Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, is coming for the first time to NSLA. Let's give him a round of applause. Okay? But let's be clear, they're not coming to see me. They're coming to see you. And why are they coming here? Because you are doing things that are solutions to the problems they're working on and they care about. So let's start with the Surgeon General. The Surgeon General issued a report a few months ago that to him, one of the biggest problems this country faces in terms of a health crisis is around the mental health challenges of teens and adolescents. And he's looking for solutions. And what he knows is that after school and summer programs are a place where kids feel seen, where they feel heard, where they feel included, where they feel like their voice is listened to, and they feel part of a community. And according to the Surgeon General, those are all key strategies that we need to employ. He even wrote a book called Together. So we'll hear about him, and he'll talk to us about how we could work with him. The Secretary of Education has been coming, because he started right when COVID was going on. And he sees the data on the academic challenges and the decline in math and reading scores, and he is looking for solutions. And under his leadership and his team, he made so much money available through we've talked about the ESSER and the American Rescue Plan. So now there's a lot of money, but he needs a lot of partners to help catch kids up and get them ready for the next year and propel them forward. And he's looking to summer programs to do that work. And that's why he launched, and you've heard about it already, the Engage Every Student Initiative, and asked NSLA to be one of the 5 founding partners with the U.S. Department of Education. We signed an MOU. Let me tell you, that doesn't happen normally. That's actually never happened before. And he came to NSLA and said, I want to be your partner, and a few other amazing groups, and we've been working together to figure out how do we engage every student. Now, some people might say, well, engage every student, that's a hyperbolic, aspirational phrase, like we're not really gonna reach every student, and listen, it's a stark challenge. According to the FRAC, the Food Research Action Council, there are about 28 million kids, kindergarten through 12th grade, who qualify for free and reduced lunch. So these are the kids who have such few resources they probably can't afford to access a summer program without our help. And then according to the America After 3 reports from our friends at the After School Alliance, they said only a little more than 3 million low-income kids are actually in summer programs. So we got about 25 million students we need to reach. So some people would say, oh, that's really daunting. I don't think we could do it. But at NSLA, we actually think it's possible. We think it's a realistic, achievable goal. And I'll tell you why. It's not only because there's so much money, unprecedented amounts, and I know we're worried about it, will it be sustained? We'll talk about that in a second. But there is, let's acknowledge, there's a lot of resources. I think if you haven't spent it, there's going to be some extensions made available to us. But beyond money, we always want more money, I get that. But we have the key ingredients to actually reach those 25 million more students, and I want to tell you what those are. I've kind of put them in a few buckets. The first bucket is what I refer to as the doers. We have lots of people doing the work of working directly with students. You've heard already. We have 100,000 public schools in America. We have 30,000 private schools in America. We have 5,000 charter schools in America. Last night you heard from the head of the largest teachers union, which she's described as the largest union in the whole country. We have more than 3 million teachers. There are more than 100,000 guidance counselors. We have 16,000 public libraries. We have 10,000 parks and rec agencies. We have 5,000 boys and girls clubs. We have 4,000 YMCAs. We have 3,100 American Camp Association summer camps. There are a lot of people doing this work that we could team up with to try and reach all those kids. And don't forget, do not forget the everyday doers, the people who want to join us, who this is not their job, the people who on top of their jobs want to, in their spare time, get involved with our efforts. I think of a doer when I think of one that I knew as a kid, a guy named Tyrone. When I was in middle school, 7th and 8th grade, every day in Bergenfield, New Jersey, after I would finish school, me and my friends would go to Memorial Park, and we would play basketball for a couple hours, and then at 5 and 5:30, all the big kids would come, and they would kick us off the court and say, "We don't want you." And we'd sit on the sideline trying to get in, and they wouldn't let us in. They wouldn't want to play with us. These were grown-ups, grown men. They didn't want to hang out with 12 and 13-year-olds. And we were there trying to get in, and one day this guy Tyrone shows up. And Tyrone was not tall, but he was big, and he had the biggest muscles he ever saw, and he wore a big gold chain that said Ty. And he saw us not getting in the game. He said, took the 4 kids, he's like, "You guys, you'll be with me. You'll be on my team. I'll guard the biggest guy, and you just do what I tell you to do." And the way basketball works is if you win the game, you get to stay on the court. If you lose, you get off. So we were motivated. So we're playing as hard as we can. If we lost, he coached us on the side what to do. This happened every day for years. We would show up. Tyrone would come after work. We'd be on his team. We'd play. We started getting good. The older men were getting mad at us. We'd beat them. This was going on. We got so good, a lot of us played in high school. Some people played in college. I finished high school and college. I don't see him for years. One day after Thanksgiving, I decided to go back to my parents' house in New Jersey, and I bring a college friend home with me, a friend of mine. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to show you the basketball court where I used to hang out so much when I was in middle school. And we go to Memorial Park, and we're walking across the baseball Little League field, and I can see that there's a basketball game going on. And I get closer to it, and I see like 4 kids like running up the court, and then I see this big guy running behind them, and it's Tyrone. And he looks at me, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, where you been? I'm getting too old for this shit. I can't keep up with these guys." We got lots of doers, millions of doers like Tyrone who want to be tasked and asked to join our cause, everybody. So the second group, the second ingredient we have that should get us fired up, and a lot of you represent, are not people who work directly with kids, but people who try and support the people who work directly with kids. And I call these people renewers. These are the people who want to renew the spirit, renew the resources, invest in those people. And a lot of you do this, and what does that look like? I keep track of this around our 5 strategic priorities. It's like the folks who care about program quality, your staff trainers, your curriculum developers, your researchers, the people who care about partnerships, your national offices that are here, your associations, your intermediaries, the people who care about policy that are here, your advocates, your elected officials, the people who work for those elected officials, the people who write think tank research papers to talk about what they care about, the people who care about public awareness so people know about our work and sign up for the programs, people like Clear Channel and media and advertisers get the message out, anyone who does marketing and communications for your program, anybody who's doing social media for you. And then, of course, our philanthropists, our government funders, our foundation funders, our corporate funders, and our individual funders who want to invest in our work. And don't forget your everyday renewers, people who don't get paid to do this, your volunteers, your tutors, your mentors, your coaches, but also your people who just want to help however they can. And what does that look like? Well, there's a story I've read. I never met him, but I read about him, and he inspires me. His name's Donald Reed. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Donald Reed. Donald Reed was a World War II vet who retired. He came back from the war, he moved back to Vermont where he was, and he was a janitor at a school for decades. And in the evenings, he was a gas attendant, pumped gas, and sometimes he worked at JCPenney. And he never got married, never had kids, but he was involved in the community and people knew him. And he was frugal and he saved his money. And when he passed away, his obituary said, Donald Reed, janitor, gas attendant, philanthropist. And it turns out that when he died, he left $1.2 million to the local library and $4.8 million to his local hospital because he cared about what they did for kids families, and his community. So there are a lot of renewers out there. There are a lot of people who want to join our cause. And in that, and he added what he could. Can't do what all of you do. But he had a way to contribute, and he made that possible. So if we have the money, and we have the doers, and we have the renewers, what's holding us back, and what do we need? And I would say, and some of you do this, but we need all of you to do it, what I think we're missing and we need are what I refer to as the gluers. We need people who are going to tie all this stuff together. We can get the programs and the doers to work together with the renewers, get all these resources, and braid it so we can reach more kids. And, an example of a guy I know when I think of a gluer, community gluer, is a guy named Coach Dave Crenshaw. Years ago, more than 2 decades ago, I got into this work by starting a mentoring program in New York City. And there was a guy who heard about it in Washington Heights. His name was Coach Dave. He would walk around with a referee shirt and a whistle. He didn't coach anything. But he's like, in my neighborhood, people respect the coach, so I like to be called coach. And he heard that I was running a free program downtown New York and learned about it, calls me up one day. He's like, hey, I heard you doing this thing. Can I come? I want to bring 15 kids, and I'll volunteer, and I'll help you out, and all this stuff. And I was like, sure, and we'd come every single night. And then one day I had to give him a call to check in on something. And it turned out that Coach Dave had worked at the local police athletic league, but then he quit to take care of his parents who were sick. And he didn't work for anybody. But all the kids in the neighborhood knew him, and all the adults knew him, and parents knew him, and they trusted him. And if you call this phone, this is dating me, his cell phone was like the old movie phone. It was like, hey, you've reached Coach Dave. If you're in my kindergarten and second grade group, meet me at the subway. We're going to the library for a free reading hour. If you're in my middle school group, meet me at 4 o'clock. There's a free exhibit at a museum. We're all going. And if you're my high school kids, meet me at 7 o'clock. We're going downtown for the Hoops and Leaders basketball camp. This was how he ran his day. He didn't have a budget. He didn't have a staff. He was just finding resources, connecting them to kids. So if you're wondering how to do this, how can you go beyond your title, beyond your organization, beyond your department, maybe beyond your school building, maybe beyond your neighborhood, to find and reach out to find new opportunities and bring them to kids? I would just tell you, do what you do best and what we know you already do, which is demonstrate how much you care. And if you know me, you know I like a good acronym, so CARE is one too. So CARE, the C, stands for collect the dots before you connect the dots. And be like Coach Dave and go find the 5 most reputable people in your area that you know are working with kids. Go find the best 5 organizations that you know are doing good things with kids and call them up. Don't do that thing we do in an elevator, even here, where you 10 people walk in the elevator, no one says hi, and everyone's staring at their shoes, and then somebody says, good morning, and everyone's like, good morning, good morning. People want to say hi, but no one's saying hi. Make the first move. Pick up the phone, text somebody, make the call, reach out. The A stands for add your strengths and inspire others to do the same. And be like Donald Reed. Not everyone can do everything well, but find what you're good at, contribute that, and then ask somebody else to contribute what they're good at. The R stands for reach out to the unincluded and rally them to your team. Be like Tyrone. Who are the people on the sideline that can't get in, that want to get involved? And get them on your side. And once they're on their side, they'll work harder for you than anybody you could even hire if you wanted to. And the E stands for empower and encourage others to try things they didn't even know was possible for them to do. And be like our friends in Math Corps and show them you're supporting them. Show them you have your back and show them that it comes out of respect and love for them. And if we do all these things, and if we step up as the doers, renewers, and gluers that this country needs, we will be able to make a lot of great things happen. And I'll tell you, you know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen? The students we want and need to attend our programs, they will show up. The staff we want and need to work in our programs, they will show up. The parents and the caregivers you want and need to be involved in your program, they will show up. And then the data and the outcome and the metrics you want and need for your programs, that will show up. And then the media attention that you deserve and want and need so people know about your programs, that will show up. And then the policymakers and the funders we need to support our programs and invest in our programs, they will show up. And then the funding that you need to grow and improve and expand our programs, that will show up. And when that all comes together, that is how together, all of us, will meet this moment of our country and meet the needs of our kids. That is how all of us together will rise to the challenge we've been given by our national leaders. And that is how together we will realistically, literally, over the next few years, educate, inspire, and engage every single student. Thank you for being partners in this work.